This is our lead story at this hour on Today. A severe thunderstorm in Gauteng on Monday afternoon has caused flooding in some parts of the province. At least 2 people have died after they were struck by lightning in separate incidents. eNCA Slindelo Masikane is currently in Alexandra township to assess the situation there. She's joining us now live. Good morning, Slindelo. What can you see? What have you seen about the damage that may have been caused, for instance, by a flood at eNCA?
Good morning, Gauteng. Yes, we are here in Alexandra, one of the areas that was flagged by officials that could experience possible flash floods, as well as several other areas that are nearby rivers, such as this one behind me, the eNCA River, as well as the Hennops River. I understand a statement from the emergency services also flagged several other areas, such as Centurion, Bedford View, Edenvale, as well as a number of highways that we also saw that had some flooding as well. And I think for communities like this one here in Stretla, close to the eNCA River, the mere fact that the storm yesterday just lasted for most of the afternoon was a blessing for them, because whenever it rains, for these residents who are part of those who are in a very low-income household, very poor, many of them living in squalor. You can see behind me that many shacks are here on the embankments of this particular river. So when I was speaking to some of the residents earlier on, they were telling me that they're quite grateful that it didn't rain as heavily overnight. That really helped them to ensure that they were able to keep safe. However, it did not eliminate the risk of them possibly having their homes, swept away. You can see in the distance, we are possibly going to have more storms later on. It is a bit chilly. Some people are keeping warm by having started fires. But if I just ask Biff to give you a bit more of a pan, here to my right, to the distance, just across from the river where I am at the eNCA, you can see that one of the residents that's living close to the embankment has actually taken out their mattress as well, because many of the residents were telling us earlier on that they experienced a lot of leakages into their homes, many of them showing us how they had to use buckets and mop away the water that was coming into their homes. Let's just take a listen to what some of those residents had to say to me earlier on.
Levula yasimoshela alana silalana kahle ukutshela iqiniso sisiwami yazi mawungabheka ngapha amanzi afuna ukuthatha abantu yabona yasiyacela mana lesincedeni lisikhiphe lana yabona dala bayeza nabo bazobheka lana mara lokho kusala kubaseka khona lana yabona izola amanzi asheshe afuna ukuthatha munye umuntu ngapha.
I wonder then who's responsible. I mean, that gentleman saying that authorities come, they have a look, but then they leave the people there. I mean, really building on the embankment is dangerous at any time.
And to say the least, Bradan, these people don't really have a choice. They don't have anywhere else to go. And this community here that lives on the embankment of the eNCA River, it's been like this for years. In fact, I was also speaking to one woman who's a creche owner who also stays close to the river, who was in tears, just explaining how she's gone from pillar to post with government officials, pleading her case on how when it rains, it literally pours into her creche, where it's now affecting her business, where parents are taking children out of the school because they know that when it rains, it's going to flood at that particular creche as well. And it just seems as though the cries of these particular people in areas like this one are just falling on deaf ears. They've been pleading for years now to be moved from the embankment of the eNCA River, but to this day, it still hasn't happened. And the woman that I spoke to earlier as well, the creche owner, was saying that just yesterday she had a counsellor coming to her creche to once again take pictures, promise that she would get assistance, but she's not hopeful at all that she's going to get any help. And so our residents here are still once again pleading with government to move them from this particular area, because they're living with young children, and as soon as it rains, it just it brings a lot of fear and anxiety to them. because they could possibly end up homeless afterwards.
Yeah, the plight of the poor there in Alex is very stark. You can just see that now. Emergency services might be preparing for another storm today. What do we know? What have they said? Have the people there seen any movement by emergency people advising them what to do in case we get these storms again today and the eNCA picks up its volumes?
Not at all. We haven't seen any officials coming through to give any kind of advisory. We just have seen those media releases from emergency services pleading with people or asking people to stay within their homes, to turn around if they are in areas where they do see flooding. But what residents have told me here is that when it does rain, they just have to constantly be on alert and check the levels of this particular river right now. If I was to just show you right now, the levels are quite low, and the residents are quite grateful for that. But once it really storms and the rain really starts coming down, then the levels start to rise, and that picks up the anxiety for the community, where they have to constantly check the levels of the river to see whether it's getting any closer to their homes, and if so, then they have no choice but to move.
Thank you very much, Slindelo Masikane, on the ground in Alex, monitoring the situation this morning after yesterday afternoon's thunderstorms that left some low-lying areas in and around Gauteng flooded. Another storm is expected today.